Happy Labor Day, everyone. I hope everyone's out there enjoying their Labor Day weekend with friends and family and just kind of relaxing. We got a lot to talk about in the weather with Major Hurricane Larry, as well as Invest 91L in the Gulf with setting up some dangerous flash flooding. And then we also have a severe weather threat as well, and then possible another Gulf system coming into the Gulf. So if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel, as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. First of all, man, look at the impressive satellite picture from Hurricane Larry. It's still a major hurricane, and look at the buzzsaw action it's displaying. This is what you see in powerful hurricanes like Larry. And yesterday, it actually went to a 70-mile wide eye, and it kind of posed the question out there. It's like, hey, is this the largest eye ever in a hurricane? So I went back and kind of did some research. So in fact, in the Pacific side, way back in 1997, we actually had Typhoon Winnie back in 97. And man, look at this. It had a 230-mile wide eye. That thing was massive, and it coming to shore. This is over here in Shanghai. This is not current. This is back in 1997. But yeah, over here in Shanghai, yeah, man, that 230-mile wide. So it then posed a question. Well, that's the Pacific side. What about the Atlantic side? Well, I did some digging, and it looked like Hurricane Francis back in 2004 got up to a 70-mile wide eye. Hurricane Alberto was back in 2000, also had a really big eye. And I know the smallest eye out there is Hurricane Wilma, and that was less than 2 miles. So if you know the record out there on the Atlantic side, definitely leave the comment below and do some more. I'm going to do some more digging as well. So I'd love to hear from you. And if you have a storm out there that actually had a bigger eye than 70 miles from what Hurricane Larry had yesterday, definitely let me know and leave the comments below. But let's get into Larry and what's going to happen with Larry. Here's the overall track. It's still a formidable hurricane. It's a major hurricane and continuing, expected to be a major hurricane all the way through and getting dangerously close to Bermuda. It has actually been shifting a little bit further off into the east. So now that cone does not actually go over Bermuda, thankfully. And technically, it doesn't even it comes near Newfoundland, but it's trending away. But it's still going to get close enough to the eastern seaboard where you're going to have what they call indirect impacts from not only just rip currents, but we also have a frontal boundary coming in. That's going to be setting the stage for some severe weather and some more flooding out ahead of Larry, and then plus some wave action, probably getting close to the Gulf. Probably by Friday. So we're going to delve into all of this in this video. But out ahead of this, man, we got that Invest 91L been out in the Gulf. Now it's entering the Gulf, and it's going to be getting its act together. This system has a lot of what they call wind shear with it, but don't get too concerned about where it's actually going. You always have indirect impacts from systems, and we have multiple frontal boundaries that are going to be moving down south. That's going to be slowing down near the coast, and that's going to be setting the stage for some dangerous flash flooding in a lot of areas. They just don't need to let rainfall, a lot like New Orleans and southern Louisiana. Unfortunately, we got a lot more rain in those regions to come. So let's get into this. Here's the overall hazard map for today. We've got those heat advisories and excessive heat watches out at west, as we're going to have a developing ridge is going to be dominating for much of the week out west. It's going to be slowly shifting off into the east as we go throughout the week. But here's flood watches already setting up for southern parts of Louisiana with that stalling frontal boundary, and you have the remnants of 91L coming up, and all this is kind of merging together, setting the stage for dangerous flash flooding with this system coming ahead. So let's take you through the week. So here's a rundown of the 500 millibar pattern. Here's the setup with the ridge out west. That's why they've got the excessive heat watches out there already in place. Here's actually the trough out here in the Northeast. This is part of the cold front that I mentioned last week for this week. So this is going to be shifting down further off into the south. It's got some cooler air with it. This is the setup today on Monday. But as we go through the week, on a Wednesday, these cooler, 1-2 combination. There's another cold front be coming down with a little bit cooler air. This is going to be merging with 91L and still setting the stage for more tropical type downpours down in the southern regions, as we've got Larry out here offshore, and this trough is going to be shifting off into the southeast. We've got severe weather well to the north, and this is going to be setting the stage for more rain, heavy rain, and severe weather along the eastern seaboard, probably coming up on Wednesday, going into Thursday. And then let's take you into Friday. So as Friday rolls around, that same system will continue to merge offshore. 91L continues to lift up. So we got a lot of rain and instability from Louisiana to the Florida Panhandle. This will get into Mississippi and Alabama, going into Georgia here, as well as that ridge will continue to press off into the west and deepening. So when you have a ridge developing over the top, you always look for lowering pressures underneath. So as this trough will move out, as this ridge will start to deepen by the time Friday rolls around, look what happens by the time next Monday happens. With this deepening ridge and that trough lifting out, we could be having another system sneaking out underneath this system and developing a serious low pressure system. And there's a lot of dynamics. This could be our one formidable storm to be looking at later on down the road. So let's get into all this and break it down. So here's the cold front that came through yesterday into Dallas, brought some sporadic showers, wasn't much to play with. But it's slowing down, and that's indicative. It's already showing that warm front and cold front. There's not much cooler air behind this system, but the combination of 91L coming up north and this stalling, slowly sagging front is going to be setting the stage for heavy downpours, flash flooding. That's why they got the flash flood threat into southern parts of Louisiana. Well to the north, we do have a severe risk later on today, just a marginal risk for far northern parts of Minnesota, and then getting into northern parts of upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine. So I do expect some marginally severe weather for those regions. Well, let's take a look at the latest HRRR model, and this is a dangerous setup. But we've already got heavier rain starting to come to play into southern Louisiana, and as we heat up in the afternoon, we still have almost 700,000 people without power in Louisiana, and some people are just now coming back from the evacuations, and this is the last thing they need with this combination of the stalling front and the 91L coming up. We've got a heavy rain, torrential rain downpour setup going to be along the coast here into Louisiana, southern parts of Mississippi, southern parts of Alabama here. Well to the north, we've got that severe risk in northern parts of Minnesota and far northern parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, getting into Maine today. So yeah, looking at some of the latest short-range computer guidance, we're looking at multiple inches of rainfall today, possibly in New Orleans and southern parts of Louisiana, where they get hit hard from Ida. We're talking 8-9 days ago now, right? So this is the last thing they want to see in this area, but this is what's on the table, not just today. We're talking most of the week with the remnants of the stalling front and the 91L coming. So this is the setup by Tuesday. So by Tuesday, again, that stalling front, it's indicative where it transfers to a warm front and a cold front. It's slowing down. So as it slows down, you have what they call sea breeze action, have a kind of an overrunning effect. And then that's the combination with the daytime heating and the low level vorticity of what's to come with 91L. All that combination puts a dangerous flash flooding threat right along the coast. As well to the north, we could be looking at even stronger storms setting up over Michigan. That'll be on the day on Tuesday, so definitely be on the lookout for that, as we have that colder air mass continuing to push further off to the south, as that ridge will start to build and expand for much of the week, moving from west to east as we go throughout the week. There's the setup for Tuesday. We have a slight risk for excessive rainfall today. We have a marginal risk for excessive rainfall tomorrow. So this is a compounding effect. I mean, if they pick up 4 or 5 inches of rain today, we got more heavy rain tomorrow. We got heavier rain in Michigan, where they have that severe threat on Tuesday, and then as we transfer into Wednesday, again that same area, that cold, that this is a secondary cold front that's not going to have much colder air with it. It's already kind of losing its oomph. And you can tell by it's already transitioning into a warm front. That's indicative it's slowing down and it's losing its colder air mass. But as it does that, this will continue to sag. And as it sags, again, it's going to be slowing down along the coast. And that's when it's really going to start to be merging with 91L, as this colder air will push and setting the stage for possibly more severe weather entering the picture into the mid-Atlantic states and getting into parts of the Northeast. And that's coming up on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, there's your heavier rain. That heavier rain will shift just a little bit further off into the east as the remnants of 91L gets kind of sheared away. So I'm not looking at, it doesn't appear now that it actually forms into what they call a tropical entity. But it's going to have a lot of the same impacts, or probably even higher impacts, even if it did form into a minimal tropical storm, because we've got very heavy rain and dangerous flash flooding setting up ahead of it. So even though it might not be classified as a tropical storm per se, it's going to have a lot of the same impacts, if not greater impacts, even if it became a storm. So because it's going to be expanding over a several day time frame, combination of that stalling cold front. But look what happens on Wednesday. Yeah, that heavier rain transfers up into the Northeast with a combination of that stalling front again, right? So now we're looking at more heavy rain entering the picture, where they got that dangerous flash flooding set up just a couple days ago in this region from the remnants of Ida. So as we go into Thursday, there's Larry with that massive eye just east of Bermuda. And here's the setup underneath. We've got all that moisture pushing in from the remnants of 91L, combining with those stalled frontal boundaries. So yes, we could have a lot of instability along the eastern seaboard with some severe weather setting up and some more heavy rain. And that's indicative on the latest icon model. It kind of shows this, not just Wednesday, but Thursday as well. We got heavy rain bands moving in, going over a lot of the same areas that get hit hard with Ida. So this is a several combination punch as well. Even though you won't have, so for say, direct impacts from Larry, you're going to have indirect impacts from the stalled frontal boundary of indirect impacts from 91L as well. So all this is merging together for more heavy rains in those regions. So as we get into the Friday, look at Larry. That's actually not that far off the eastern seaboard. This is a formidable eye, and it's still expected to be a pretty bit strong hurricane by then, as their remnants of 91L will still be feeling the effects, and possibly the Florida Panhandle by then, as that drier air sinks in from the west, deepening, really heating up. I mean, it's got to be pretty warm much of the week as this ridge moves from west to east, and as that cold front will start to stall out. But as this moves out, it resets. But look what happens in the Gulf, guys. We got another system coming to play. It's going to be deepening with that ridge. That bridge over the top helps lower pressures underneath. And as it lowers pressures underneath, we could be looking at another possible storm development moving out of Central America, going in back into the Gulf by the time this weekend rolls around. But ahead of that, look at the wave action by the time we get into Friday off the eastern seaboard. We could be looking at a 52-foot wave by the time Friday night rolls around, and it's not out of the question. We could be looking at 7 to 10 feet of wave action along the eastern seaboard. So that's definitely of concerning. Not only do you have high rip currents and high wave action, but you got what they call pregame action ahead of the storm from Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday. Even though Larry won't make direct impact off the eastern seaboard, you're going to have indirect impacts from the combination of the stalled frontal boundary and the lingering effects of the outer bands of Larry. So as we go into Saturday, we're kind of in that transition period, right? That trough moves out and the ridge will start to deepen in. As the ridge starts deepening in, a lot of these reds turn to purples. So now we're looking at more deep tropical air moving in on the backside. It's taking advantage of that convergent effect, right? It's always concerning to me when you have a ridge over the top, especially in the heart of hurricane season, that really amplifies and deepens, lowers the pressures underneath. And as it lowers the pressures, it brings in a lot of the Gulf moisture. So as now we're seeing those purples are very heavy rain going upwards to over 2 inches per hour. So this is deep tropical moisture. So this is my concern as we go into next Monday. So next Monday, we have another, what they call Kelvin waves. They're actually coming across. Now we had a Kelvin wave and now a Kelvin wave. So those guys that are just now following me, it's just an area of deep tropical moisture. We had a Kelvin wave that came across, and that was one of the culprits why Ida was able to really rapidly explode like it did. And then we had a Larry, actually, as it traversed into the Atlantic. Then we actually had Larry take advantage of that Kelvin wave. So the remnants of 91L came from what they call a Central American gyro regions. It's not a tropical wave. It's not even have deep tropical moisture. So it's way different entity than what may this be. So a lot of times what we see in tropical systems, as we have a first system that kind of what they call clears the runway, more or less, and clears out the shear and everything out. So back behind it, it's that second system that we always have to be concerned about. And this is my concern after the remnants at 91L moves out on the backside as it comes up. This is with the combination of another Kelvin wave coming across. This is why the models are already picking up on that deep tropical moisture setting up into the Gulf of Mexico by the time next Monday rolls around. And a lot of indications has this pushing along the Gulf Coast by the time we get into that Tuesday into Wednesday timeframe. Look at the latest GFS ensemble members guidance. It has a lot of members pushing this into the Gulf of Mexico and keeps pushing it to the north along the coastal states. So I wouldn't, if you live along Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, really anywhere along the coast in the Gulf of Mexico, I'd be concerned about, nothing to be concerned about right as of this moment, but a week from now, the stage looks to be set. We could be looking at possibly another formidable system really trying to get its act together into the Gulf of Mexico. And a lot of the dynamics, again, are starting to come to play where we could be looking at a deepening storm as it approaches the coast. So nothing to be concerned about at the moment, but I definitely wanted to let you know this is my concern going forward with a lot of the dynamics looking to come together with what's to come down the road from into the Gulf. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you for and after the storm.